Yeah, that Burl Demo, that's all side grade.
These were series, and I'm thinking it was something like that was the tree. And cut it in half, and they had these were Christmas presents for my kids that I bought back for tonight's meeting. But just based on what I could see, you got to, like you said, study it, look at it, figure it out, and then when you start turning it, I always say, particularly with the people in my work, frequently get chances to do some dynamic redesign. You know, the tree tells you what you had in mind and really what it's going to be. Yeah. And some of these, you can see they're different shapes with this series I did. This was the first one. Some of these I think is kind of thick. With burls, particularly with all the, well, actually the first one I ever did was this one. And I got it pretty thin. And then I went to do the other half of this. And it was a little smaller just because of the way the tree was. And I got down to the very end of my turning. It was in my last pass.
One more cut.
And it went, well, and I was trying to get it this thin, which I was successful with this side. And what had happened is there was much more bark inclusions. And I think one of them just came up to here, you know, and I got it thin enough, and it went all over my shop. I was trying to find pieces to bring in, but believe me, it blew up. What I would like to add, you know, about turning burls is safety. You know, we talked about how to get tenons, and sometimes the tenons, you know, are problematic. Like Len did, one of these. Which one? This one. I think I did the way Len said with expansion. And I believe what happened is the first tenon I had it on, and before I got too far on this side, the tenon broke off. So then I decided, I was lucky enough that I hadn't done much on this side, that I could remount it, and I put, you know, expansion on it. So that's how this one got to be an expansion. So with them, because of the bark inclusions, two things. One, it can blow up on me. I only ever had one do that, and that's. The other thing is with these bark inclusions, particularly ones like this, anytime they can come off. And they're just, you know, little missiles flying around your shop. So don't be afraid of it, but wear your face shields. You know, you be careful. Wear your normal safety things, and you shouldn't have a problem. But, you know, it's a little adrenaline rushing it down, and when something goes whizzing by your head, you bang it right in your shop with it. They come off. Even when you're sanding, I usually don't wear my shield when I sand. But I was doing one of these, and it might have been this one, that had a real pretty piece, you know, like this. It looked really nice, and when I was sanding, it came flying out of it. So, super glue, some people talk about it. It looks a little loose, pull super glue on it. Be careful it doesn't, you know, you can't see when you're finished, but that kind of hold it. Just different ideas. And there's some ideas like that again, when you end up.
Bill talked about ingrain. This is going to be an ingrain turn like this one. Normally, we'll take a log and we'll split it in half and make two side grain bowls out of each half log. Well, I've had some logs that are so long, and so I cut the length I need, cut it in half, make two side grain bowls. I got another piece left like this. Well, I can cut it down, make some small bowls out of it, or cut it in blocks and make spindles, different things. And I'm going to try end grain. I tried end grain when I first started turning. I didn't know anything about it. Didn't know what I was doing. And it split on me. I had a heck of a mess with it. But recently, I've turned a couple end grain cherry bowls, and they came out real nice. They work well. You can do end grain bowls. It's not that difficult, and you can get good bowls out of it. So I have done it. You can do it. And so yeah, I have a problem with the ingrain on this. I think it'll work real well. There are a few checks in this piece. As old as it is, it's not real bad in my opinion. It looks pretty good. So we'll give it a try, see what we get.
What else can you say about Burl's Pot? Burl Pot is made, and we saw a vase here tonight, bowls, end grain bowls, conventional style bowls, some of them a little more like artsy-fartsy bowls. Again, I've been turning for a bit, and my kids get, I have 7 kids, 5 of mine, 2 of my wife's, and I have lots of places I can give them as gifts and Christmas presents. They all now expect wood for Christmas. But I thought, how many bowls of this shape, no matter whatever color they are, can you give somebody? So I did different. So don't be afraid to get creative and do different with the burls or anything. The only other thing I found turning burls, and actually I was surprised it was mentioned in the magazine, I did it by accident. Conventionally, if you were turning a bowl, you turn the outside this way, from the bottom up, and on the inside you go this way. Sometimes if you can't get a good cut normally, I found with some of these burls, depending upon how twisty it is, that if you go the wrong way, you get a better cut. So this one, I think I actually ended up coming with my final cuts, coming this way instead of that way. And same thing on the inside, instead of finishing it that way, I actually came out. So because of the grain of burls, it's all swirly, it goes all different directions. Some of our conventional wisdom of how to do it, sanding it or turning it, it's a little different.
Well, the few that I've turned through, they've been awful hard. That cherry that I passed around there, was extremely hard. The barrel is so bigger than this, and twice as long. It's about all I can do to lift it. It's extremely dense, very heavy. Most of the burls are, I guess, you've seen a soft burl off. They're usually harder than wood. So you need sharp tools.
Sharp tools, but I didn't find it difficult to turn. I thought it turned pretty well. It's kind of fascinating when you see all the holes in it when you stop the lathe. Okay.
Simple question. What causes a burl?
A burl is a form of cancer in trees. What it is the meristematic tissue, which is growth tissue. And it's a whole bunch of buds all together growing just like cancer does. And in most cases, of course, it doesn't kill the tree, but it gets all kinds of bark inclusions and that sort of thing. And burls can normally grow from the center of the tree, usually from some sort of insect or fungal damage or so forth when the tree is very young. And when a burl grows, it grows generally from the center of the tree, and it gets wider and wider and wider as it goes out. Doug can tell you about some of the burls that he got out of the red elm from Menham Township, and it's almost like looking at a trumpet. It just goes out and it gets bigger and bigger on the outside. But it is a matter of unusual growth in the growth tissue in a tree, and it's normally like a whole series of buds just exploding.
You can find it if you people like Martin and your neighbors or friends, and a burl comes down or whatever. If you look at the price of buying a burl, they're very expensive. They go very dearly when you go out and try to buy them. So we're really lucky to have people like Martin around that find stuff like that and gets it in the hands of people. I know there's an awful lot of clubs that would love to have Martin.
I also add, I'm not sure if it's Bob's, but when Martin and I went out to Overoak Park, all the burls were sitting off on the side because the guys wanted to do firewood splitting, and burls don't split. So if you have anybody that generates firewood, that's the last thing.
You want to go home and tuck away for you? Sure.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm serious about that.
Oh yeah.
Number of guys throw them aside, and the firewood guys come along, and they well, I don't want that either. No, they throw it aside.
Exactly. So I'm just saying that we think of them as...
So we had first choice, we're taking burls.
If anybody knows anybody that does firewood or wood cutting or all that sort of stuff, that's the best place to look for them.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you about the foolish expert.
Yeah.
I have been passing that wood for almost a year and a half, and it's been piled up. And I just ignored it. Well, Doug went by walking one time, and he recognized it right away. And when I came over in response to his call, I was very embarrassed that I had just walked past this stuff for about a year and a half, because it was all piled up.
I walked by that pile myself.
Well, there you go, Ron.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark, can you stimulate that in a tree? Same way you do, when you lay a tree out to get it spalded. Can you stimulate a tree to produce a burl?
I can't quite hear what you're saying.
Can you do it
Artificially.
Stimulate a tree to make a burl?
Oh, I would suppose it's possible, but you'd have to start with a young tree, and then you'd have to wait the 30 or 40 years for it to grow. You got that time?
I don't put my stuff
I'm sure
in a
there's
bag
some
and
college kids up at Penn State Bar School that would love to try that. No, burls generally take a good long time to grow. Now, there are small ones that you'll see on trees when you're walking through the wood. And of course, they're mostly something that wood carvers would whittle and that kind of stuff. But the burls that these fellows are showing here have gotten, well, at least 25 to 50 years worth of growth before they've gotten that tall.
Well, how do you determine the difference
You don't have to
between...
have very big ones either. Some of this stuff Bob passed around, and sometimes just a little piece can make a pretty little piece.
Well, how do you determine when you have a busy crotch? Okay, you have a number of limbs coming out of it, all right, and a bump there. Is that a burl? Considered a burl? You get the same patterns within when you open it up. When you open it up. I mean, the one that I put up there, that had 3 limbs coming out and some bump. I don't know if someone had cut the limb off and then it had grown over. Inside, except for the inclusions, it looked just like a burl.
Now you get the curly grain where the crotch comes together. Yeah, the burl, you get the little eyes and so forth in them that you don't have in the crotch. But you can have it. I guess you have a start of a burl in the crotch area.
Yeah, you see, here you get the eyes through there, and you can see where the spider.
Yep.
And so, I mean, how do you determine